I started doing workshops and doing groups where I'm getting up in front of others, like outside of the gym setting, and talking about resilience and perseverance and goal setting and vision and taking action.
You should know what 1 hour of your time is worth. You should know the value that you bring to the marketplace. You know what your passion is.
Starts with clarity of vision. If you don't have the clarity of vision, whatever next thing you get, you're not going to see it through because you don't have the clarity of vision. So the point of my pain was being told you will never run or jump again. And all that stuff, I was like, you know what? Like, I want to be able to take this even bigger.
If you know why you do what you do, you have to know how to charge for what you do. That's how you're going to change your life, and that's how you're going to leave a legacy for your children and your family. You got to know your worth.
Happy Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rob, and I'm back with episode number 382 of Shut Up and Grind. We're all about overcoming obstacles, defying the odds, and inspiring you to clear what's ever blocking the path to success that you want in this lifetime. So for today's tip of the day, I want to talk about something that I discussed in yesterday's episode with my guests, and it's about who are you? Who are you at your core? I think a lot of people get stuck in that hamster wheel and get stuck in just the rut of life is because they lost track somewhere along the lines of who they were. And I always use myself as an example. I'm a competitor. So if you take away the author, you take away the speaker and podcast host, fitness coach, sports coach, like that's all what I do. Who I am a competitor. I am someone who's very fierce, very intentional, very determined to get the things done that I want to get done. So for those of you watching today, and my guest is going to answer this question as well, is I want to know, when you strip away all those hats, who are you at your core? And if you're unhappy with the direction of your life, is it because you're not in touch with that person? And when you can answer that question, you're going to notice a lot of things are going to change for you. All right, so today's episode, we're going to talk about from rock bottom to resilience. Now, that can cover a wide range of topics, but that's what we like. It keeps the show interesting. So helping me have this conversation is DK. So this conversation is for anyone navigating burnout, loss, or the question, what now? This show's going to be real, raw, and filled with tools to help you move forward with grit, gratitude, and grace. So let's welcome DK. How we doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. My pleasure. Where are you joining me from?
Dallas, Texas.
Dallas. I've been to Dallas a few times, a long time ago, but I've been there a few times. All right, DK. Are you originally from there?
No, I'm actually from a small town in Missouri, actually.
In Missouri. Okay. What brought you to Texas?
My wife wanted to be closer to family, and her family's she's got family in Austin. So so moved to Texas.
Nice. Yeah, my niece moved out to Austin. I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. She loves it there.
Yeah.
I think I've interviewed a few people here from Austin, the Austin area also. So good stuff. All right, so let's dive in. So before we get into today's topic, let's start with what I just shared in the intro. Who are you?
I actually like your answer was you're a competitor, but I'm like, I can't take that one. So I'm going to go with, for me, is I'm a life learner and an action taker.
I like it. Yeah, expand on that for me.
Yeah, so for me, being a life learner, it was kind of ingrained in me very young. So as you talked about being a competitor, right? I've done martial arts since I was 5 years old. And, I did a lot of competitions, things like that. But when I was 7, I got my black belt. But my instructor told me, he's like, every time you walk in that door, you're a white belt. And I was like, for a 7-year-old, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, can't you see I'm a black belt? But he later described it as like, don't just because you're a black belt doesn't mean you have all the answers. Continue to learn new skills, learn, about other people, learn about yourself. And so for me, that at such a young age, it's always kind of carried on. And for me as a, action taker, when you're competing, you can't just sit back and be like, oh, I'm going to do nothing and think that I'm going to get first place, or, no, it's like, you have to put that training in, you have to put that time in, it may hurt running 3 miles or 5 miles or whatever, but if you don't take that action, you're not going to get anywhere. And so for me, you can learn a bunch of stuff, but if you don't take that action of what you learn, well, then you're not applying it, and then you won't go anywhere. So for me, it's kind of, it goes both ways. You have to learn, but you have to take that action.
Yeah, let me just expand on that quick. So I had a guest, this was probably 3 months ago. You see the words over here. He asked me, he's like, what's the difference between empower and inspire? And for me, my definitions are exactly what you just said. I said, anybody can, you can watch anything and get inspired very easily.
Yeah.
I said, but if you don't take any action, when you empower someone, that means that they're starting to take the action to get that thing that they want to accomplish. So do you agree with that? Yep.
I totally agree. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So do you think, so now I coach track and field. So I coach at the high school level, but I see it in all levels, where you mentioned about getting those lessons at such a young age. Do you feel like that's a lost art nowadays?
Yeah, I think for sure. For me, again, so my parents own a restaurant, and I was already working at the age of 12 for my parents. But they instilled that discipline, that hard work, and I do sometimes feel that it's a lost art, that a lot of people want things just kind of handed to them without the work, without the discipline. And, with martial arts, I did it for such a young age. I still do it to this day, but those lessons taught me life lessons,
Yes.
and I apply it to my life. And so, yeah, I feel that a lot of people are missing that link.
Yeah. So I was at track practice yesterday, and I'm speaking with the athletes. We're doing stuff, and they're like, oh, this hurts. Oh, this burns. I was like, do you want to be a champion? If you want to be a champion, this is what champions do. Right? It's you're not going to come here, screw around, and then, perform great in Saturday's meet. It doesn't work that way. But then as coaches, you got the school administrators saying, you guys got to kind of tone that down a little bit. I'm like, tone it down? Really? I got in trouble for talking about, not with the current school I'm at, the last school, for talking about mental performance.
Yeah.
I had to go and speak to the athletic director about that. They're like, the principal doesn't want you talking about that stuff. I'm like, but that's part of sports. Right? It's that's part, this is a thing, but that's what's happening in these schools now. I don't want to veer off too far off of the main topic. I just think that was important to address.
No, I mean, I totally agree. I feel like after I graduated high school, it was kind of everybody gets a participation award. There's no first, second, or third no more. When I was in school, it's no, it's first, second, and third. If you get fourth, you don't get a medal, you don't get a trophy, you don't get a ribbon, whatever. And even when I was competing, it was always first, second, and third. And the real world isn't like that. If you think about it, everybody doesn't get a participation award or whatever. I mean, dude, you got to show up to work. You got to put in that work. And so, yeah, there's this a lot of disconnect of trying to include everybody. And I feel that it's nice, but it doesn't teach you that the life skills or the mental grit that you have to put in. Michael Jordan, if you look at him, he got cut from his high school basketball team, but he put in hours and hours and hours and hours of hard work and the discipline behind it. And guess what? I mean, he's considered the greatest of all time, right? In basketball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and to your point, yes, he still played JV. He got cut from the varsity.
Yeah.
But what happens now, right? Let's translate that into now. People hit adversity and just give up.
Yeah.
Right? And like they just get, oh, I guess this isn't for me. Going back to who are you at your core. So I also managed restaurants for a long time before I pivoted into fitness. And at first I didn't know how I was going to do it. I'm a college dropout, didn't have any savings, didn't have the best credit, didn't have any real connections to get financing to get this going. And I just leaned into what I did best, and doors just started to open because I just stayed true to who I was. I did get one offer, but I felt like I was selling my soul, and I was like, no, that's not why I want to do this. But I stayed the course. Yeah. And people too quickly get thrown off course. So I titled this episode From Rock Bottom to Resilience. So I know you've been through some stuff in your life as well. So take me through one of the moments where you felt like you hit that rock bottom.
Yeah. So kind of recently, about 2024, it was January of 2024, my wife gets diagnosed with breast cancer. And so from there, I'm reading this book called The Breast Cancer Husband. And it basically said, hey, like, be there for your wife, take her all her appointments. And as I'm finishing the book, it says, hey, like, let your employer know what's going on. So you're not like, basically do the right thing, tell them what's going on, and ask for a flexible work schedule. So you're not beating around the bush of like, oh, I'm sick today, I can't come in, or, just be upfront with them. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. I was kind of reluctant, but I was like, all right, February 1st comes around. I set my three managers aside and say, hey, like, this is what's going on. I'll work weekends, I'll work nights to make up my time, whatever it is. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. We'll accommodate for you. And then exactly a week after I disclosed that, they decided to lay me off. Wow. And so my wife has already quit her job at this point because she's going to be starting treatments. And yeah, I mean, talk about rock bottom. Life or death situation with my wife. And now we have absolutely no income coming in, no health insurance. And my wife started chemo around mid-February or late February, things like that. And she did the chemo. We get one chemo treatment was about $75,000, $80,000. And she had to do 12 on top of that with like surgery, MRIs, doctor visits, things like that. And so, I mean, and it's a year-long treatment. And our bill would have been probably over $1 million. And because we didn't have health insurance, I made a bunch of phone calls. We ended up getting Cobra insurance, which is a high premium and high deductible. Yep. But, of course, we didn't pay the $75,000. But with having Cobra, we still had a lot of medical bills. And so, and I actually didn't find a job until December of 2024. So that we went like 10 months without any income. And because of that, we racked up about $60,000 worth of living expenses, medical debt. I mean, that we're still trying to pay off even till this day. And so, yeah, I mean, rock bottom for me, I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm applying for jobs. I'm taking my wife to chemo treatments for cancer. I'm looking up how to treat cancer like holistically as well, instead of just conventionally, because like I said, I'm a life learner, but I'm also an action taker. So we took responsibility for this cancer. We didn't say like, oh, hey, doctors, surgeons, whatever, you guys deal with it, cure my wife. No. So like we started digging deep into like other people who has beaten cancer. So we read this book called Chris Beat Cancer. And if you're not familiar with who Chris' work is, he was like 26 years old and basically he was like having like abdominal pain, checks into the ER. They do some tests. They're like, hey, you have stage 3 colon cancer. You might have maybe a month to live. You need to do chemo, radiation, surgery, and you might have a year to live, maybe. And he actually decided to just do the surgery. And then he just started digging into different nutrition and how to basically heal from cancer through nutrition. And so he went on a complete whole food plant-based diet. And he wrote this book called Chris Beat Cancer. after the fact that he's done all this and then did it to himself and basically cured himself of cancer. And so we read that book. We started doing a lot of things that he suggested, like growing our own broccoli sprouts, drinking carrot juice, going on a whole food plant-based diet. And we took that. We took that action and we started implementing in our own lives. And so, yeah, I mean, and then during that time, like, I didn't have, a job. I was just journaling.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in quick.
Sure.
Right. Let me jump in quick, because I tell people all the time that don't listen to people that haven't done what you're trying to do.
Exactly.
It's like if that doctor himself hasn't beat cancer, I don't want to hear from you. Yeah. So like in my intro where it said I was told I would never run or jump again, I was like, you don't know that.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, you don't know that. It's like, we haven't even had the surgery yet. So how are you going to tell me how I'm going to heal from this? So I'm not to take over, but just quickly, I'm having my knee replaced next Wednesday. Okay. And I'm already figuring out how to navigate life. Yeah. Because I went through it with my left knee already. So I had that one reconstructed, because people are like, oh, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. I'm like, don't put your limitations on me. Yeah. Right. I'm preparing to deal with this. I'm preparing how to keep working out in spite of I'm going to have a 3-foot brace on my leg, but I'm going to make it work. I'm going to figure out how to drive. I'm going to figure out how to work, and we're just going to make it work, because the brain controls the body. So whatever you tell yourself, the body's going to respond. Like my mom got diagnosed with breast cancer not this past October, the October before. And when she told me, just so people and you can see that I practice what I preach, like when she told me, she was kind of teary-eyed. And I was like, all right, so what stage are we in? And she was very early, stage 1, very early. I said, dry them tears up, sister. I was like, we got this. Like with the advancements in medicine now, I was like, we got this. Like, don't even get that thought in your head that it can get worse. All right, just get that thought in your head that we got this. All right, kick it back to you.
Yeah, but it's something that you talk about. I mean, the mind is so powerful. It's like what you think is what you become, right? If you think you have, some sort of sickness or disease, and well, guess what? Your body will end up developing it, right? And so the mind is very powerful. And kind of going back to what I was talking about, when I was laid off and just taking my wife to appointments, I was just journaling one day. And I was just, journaling my thoughts, kind of how I'm feeling. And so kind of take it back. When I got the news that, my company was going to lay me off, I came home that night. I talked to my wife. I was like, hey, I got laid off. And so for us, faith is a big part of our life. And so we came home, we prayed, but I didn't ask the question, why, God, is this happening to us? Why does my wife get cancer? Why do I lose my job all in a short time period, right? I asked the question, why not us? And who can we help because of this? And so, that question always kind of came back to me of, well, as I was journaling, I was like, who can we help because of this? And so that journaling turned into a book. And it's called Mindset Metamorphosis, a book that I wrote during rock bottom, basically, of our life. No income, cancer diagnosis. And it was just a lot of things, how to deal with stress, how to start changing your mind, how to start feeding your mind, start learning. I talk about meditation for like stressing. I talk about getting exercise, getting some sunlight, getting vitamin D, drinking water to help de-stress yourself, getting proper sleep. I talk about all these things, and then like setting goals and like taking that action. So it's a book that it's for people that's like you're talking about feeling stuck. It's a book to help people get unstuck and to really take action for their life and to really get those like naysayers out. Like you're talking about, your knee, that you'll never jump again or whatever. Who's to say that you'll never jump again? So for us, we saw 3 oncologists. The first 2, they were like, hey, we need to start treatment as soon as possible because it's a rapid growing cancer, basically the type that my wife had. And they're like, we need to start like today. And they actually like, and I asked the doctors, like the first 2 doctors, I asked like, why are you pushing like chemo treatments and like so rapidly? And one of the doctors actually told me that, hey, like we actually have a quota that we need to meet of how much we need to prescribe chemotherapy. And I'm like, wait, you need to meet a quota? Like, are we just a number like that? And you get like this big old check from the pharmacology or whatever. And I'm like, why do you need to make a quota for chemotherapy? And it didn't make sense to me. So I was like, we're going to see another doctor. And then the second doctor, they're like, yeah, we overtreat and over-prepare on cancer just because it's still an unknown of like how fast it's growing or whatever. And then we're like, all right, let's go to a different doctor. Finally landed at a different doctor that we, really vibed with. And then the third doctor actually said, like, we can actually do half the dosage and still get the same amount of treatment. So we're like, oh, let's do that, because with chemotherapy, I mean, it's like a nuclear bomb that goes off in your immune system. Like it kills the good, the bad, like it just nukes everything. It just kills everything, right? And so we had to basically feed our cells with good nutrition, like from the plants that we're getting. And, like I talked about with Chris' work, he talked about broccoli sprouts. Broccoli sprouts actually has 10 times more cancer-fighting compounds than actual regular broccoli. So we started growing our own, adding it to our own smoothies, adding it to our salads, and we just have it every day. And yeah, but that was something that we were learning. And so yeah, my book, Mindset Metamorphosis, is really about changing your mind and taking action for your life. No matter if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling rock bottom, and just really learning to take ownership of your life, because that's what we had to do.
See, and you hit the nail on the head when you said, who can we help? Like anytime I'm working with someone that's going through something, I'm like, this is an opportunity for you to help somebody else. It's like, I could have easily just listened to what that doctor said.
Yeah. And
then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. Because I actually ran into someone, I was at either Walmart or Target, who had a similar injury to what I had. He was further along though. And he goes to bend his leg and he's like, get ready for that. He's like, that's as far as you're going to be able to bend your leg. I said, I can already bend it all the way. Yeah. Because I didn't listen to any of, and I'm not telling people don't listen to your doctor. I'm just sharing what I did.
Yeah.
And I found my own thresholds as I was going through rehab. And they originally said I was going to rehab for 18 months. I got out in 4.5. Because I took what they told me to do and I just amplified it. Yeah. I worked up until it got uncomfortable. Like I didn't stay in that safe zone. So anyway, and it's not even about me going through that and racing again and jumping and competing again. It's not even about any of that. It's that I had the courage to try. Yeah. Like that's what I always tell people. That's what I want the takeaway to be, is to have the courage to try. Like if I work like hell and I can't do it again, so on and so forth. But for next Wednesday's surgery, I already have a race on the calendar in June. And I haven't even had the surgery yet. People are like, how are you going to do that? I'm like, I'm going to prepare. When June gets here, if I'm not ready, I'll make that decision then. But I'm going to prepare as if I'm going to be ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I like something that you talked about, that uncomfortability. I talked about this in my book, like so many of us are like, they don't want to get uncomfortable, right?
Yes.
It's like, I can only walk, 10 minutes. It gets uncomfortable. It starts hurting at that point. Well, then we're not going to grow if we don't seek that uncomfortable. Like, you look at children, look at babies. When they first are trying to walk, what do? They get up, they try to take one step, they fall down, right? But we as adults, we don't say oh, you tried once and you're never going to walk. No, we keep encouraging them like, hey, get back up. And they'll fall 1,000 times, but they're determined that I'm going to walk like my adult counterparts. And before you know it, they're walking and then they're running, right? But but we as adults, we're like, oh, I tried that once. It's uncomfortable. It just didn't work out. You know, and I talk about that. Like, don't be afraid to fail in my book. Like, it's okay to fail. That's where you learn. Like, when you're learning how to drive a car, you don't just learn how to drive first day. You know, there's so much going on, right? Like, I have to look at all the mirrors. I have to start the car, I have to put it in park. I have to put it in drive. I put the gas pedal. You know, things like that. It's a lot, right? It's uncomfortable, but you're learning. And yeah, so I think like a lot of times we as humans put so much limits on our own self that we get comfortable with what we have. And, you know, give you an example, talking about uncomfortable, I actually give you a few. So when I was taking my wife to the chemo treatments, I saw the nurse staff, the medical staff, like pretty much 2-3 times a week. And they pretty much pulled me aside one day. They just said like, hey, like we were really like inspired that you stuck by your wife's side, because about 70 to 80% of men who their wives are diagnosed with some sort of cancer basically bail out. And I'm like, that's a high number, 70%, because all these people see is cancer patients, right? And a lot of the patients talk to the medical staff, and the medical staffs, you know, the patients say like, oh yeah, my husband left me, or my husband filed for divorce or whatever after I got diagnosed. And yeah, they just said 70 to 80%. And so for us as humans, that's the easy way to do, is to run away, right? Run away from those challenges, run away from that uncomfortability. And it's the same with martial arts. You know, here's a life lesson that I learned in martial arts, that when you're sparring against someone that's stronger or bigger or faster or whatever, most people want to basically run away because they're like, they get scared because they're like, I don't want to get punched in the face. I don't want to get kicked in the face or whatever. And that's the easy way to do it. But you're never going to learn if you don't face it head on. Like, it's like, what kind of courage do I have facing this obstacle or this opponent or whatever? But then you also learn maybe like, oh, there's some weak spots that I see in this opponent that it's not overwhelming no more. But like you're saying, just take that challenge, take that action to like, I'm going to go do this, and I'm determined to do this and face it. And, you know, give you another example, kind of like how like the power of the mind. So are you familiar with the Spartan race?
Of course, I've done about 200.
Okay. Yeah. So back in 2023, I signed up for the Spartan Ultra, the 50K. And so if you've never done a Spartan race, it's a lot of obstacles, it's rough terrain, it's a lot of running, and it's very uncomfortable and it hurts, especially a 50K. So as I'm doing this, things happened. My tracker got caught on one of the obstacles. I was already half a mile down. I had to run a half mile to go pick it back up and look for it. I lost my glove. Oh, no. I tore my hands on the rope. I got rope burn. I had a nosebleed. I ate way too many Cliff Bars. Like I was eating like a Cliff Bar like every 45 minutes. I had digestive issues. I carried like too much. I had 3 Camelbacks with me. Like it was extra weight. I dropped a boulder on my toe. So all these things happen.
Oh God.
Right. And so with the 50K, you do it 2 times. You do a 25K, 1 loop with 30 obstacles. Then you go back out and do the same 25K, 30 obstacles. So as I'm on the second loop, I'm bleeding, I'm hurting, my hands are bleeding and torn, and you know, all these things are going on, digestive issues. And as I'm passing people, people are saying out loud, like, this race is too hard. I can't do this. I'll never finish. And as they're speaking that, like, for me, I'm like, I'm not going to listen to you. For me, I'm just like, I'm going to keep going. I can, and I will finish this race in spite of all the things that is going on. And all these other guys, all these other people they didn't drop a boulder on their toe. They didn't rip their hands or whatever, but they're already saying it. And guess what? They didn't finish the race. So a 50K Ultra, the one that I did, was about a 50% fail rate. and about 600 people went in, and it's like 324 people finished. For me, it took me about 12 and a half hours, but I still finished in spite of all that went wrong. But
Yeah.
for me, I was just determined, like, I'm going to finish this no matter what. And I don't care how much I'm hurting. If I need to crawl across that finish line, then I will. And so, like you were talking about, you know, that determination, it was kind of that same determination for me, but it was also, my mindset was already set that I will finish this. Just like you were saying, like, my knee, it bends fully. So because it's all in your mind, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually host a second show. It's called the New England OCR Expo Podcast. I MC an event. It's about ultimate obstacles in West Boylston, Mass, every year. And if you want to come on that show and we can dissect your whole ultra experience, if you want to do that, like I did an ultra in 2018.
Yeah.
Down in South Carolina. And same thing. I mean, the first lap was okay, but yeah, that second lap, it gets in your mind. But like I always tell people, it's like the ultimate metaphor of life, right? Because people get in that start corral, and everybody's high-fiving, and they're like, "Come hella high water, I am crossing that finish line."
Yeah.
But then they'll get a little bit of adversity in everyday life, and they throw their hands up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like take that determination. Like I tell people, in the ultra, and I've done a lot of beasts, like mountain beasts. I've done Killington, I've done New Jersey,
Nice.
I've done Palmerton, Pennsylvania, and you hear people getting in their heads. I'm like, guys, don't worry about the end. Worry about the next mile.
Yep.
Just get to the next mile marker.
Yep.
Regroup. You know, drink some water, get to the next mile marker, and then just repeat. Because if, like with me, I was at mile 17, I believe, and my legs were already shaking.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, let's just get to 18. All right, let's just get to 19. It's like, damn, another bucket carry. Right? So you carry the bucket, your back's hurting, your feet are hurting, your ankles are hurting. But it's like, nope, I'm gonna get to mile 20, and then next thing you know, you can smell the fire. And finishing that, I'll be up front. I will never do another one. But finishing that one, I was like, every time I look at that buckle, it's like, wow, it's like you went through hell to get that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's the same, like with life. You know, we face these challenges in life, whether it be cancer, job loss, or just life hitting us, you know, like, but these lessons with fitness, and I talk about like fitness in my book as well, it helps our mind to really like develop and have that mental healthy mental capacity. Because like I said before, like when we face adversity, when we face challenges, so many of us want to just run away because that's the easy thing to do. And it's hard doing an ultra. I mean, talk to anyone that has done an ultra. They're like, yeah, that sucked. That was hard. And same thing with like doing martial arts. There's a lot of discipline that goes into it. And so all these things has taught me to really like these life lessons that I just really put in my book, and like the things that I was going through. You know, I mean, I'm sure there's someone else out there that has job loss and dealing with cancer or some health issue or whatever, and they don't know what to do next. So for me, it was just like, I just want to be able to help people in any capacity that I can. You know, whether it be just a simple email like, hey, like read this book, or read Chris Beat Cancer or something. And, you know, like, you know, I talked about faith is a big part of my life. Like I always thought about like, you know, taking like action or like learning something. A scripture that comes to mind is Galatians. It says, let us not become weary in doing good. For the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And I feel like so many people, when it gets hard, people just give up, you know? And so for me, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give up on my wife. I'm not going to give up on the ultra. I'm going to do everything. I'm not going to give up on people, because I feel like we as society, we as people need other people. Sometimes like, hey, we just need like someone to lift us up, but then sometimes we need to lift someone else up. You know, like you're a motivational speaker, coach. You do a lot of that, right? I'm sure like you empower, you inspire, you ignite, unleash people, right? So it's the same. Like if there's no one out there to inspire, then you have no job. but all of us are going to need inspiration, and all of us are going to need empowerment at some point in our lives, because there's just sometimes we're just like, I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what to do. But that's where we learn from other people. We learn from books. We learn from podcasts, and learn from YouTube. There's so much material out there that we can be learning, and to better ourselves and to better other people.
So one thing I say all the time is there's somebody out there right now that's about to take their last breath that would trade anything for my bad day.
Yeah.
So when, because life hits us too. People think us motivational people, we're just walking through rose fields and just skipping happy all day long. Yeah. Life happens to us too, but it's how quickly you respond to it. I used an example yesterday. Like, you can't tell with the background, but I'm sitting in a gym right now. Right. So when I get ready to leave, and if I open a door and I have a flat tire, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to run back to social media. Grab my phone, take a picture of it, post it on social. Oh, my day's gone to hell now. I have a meeting like, you're wasting all of that energy when you could just change the damn tire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like people wallow.
Yeah.
Yes, people wallow in the self-pity too much. Like, if you have to get stuff done, like I just had to spend $1,300 getting my brakes done. Did it suck? Yes. Is it a hit to the bank account? Yes. But it had to be done. Move on. It's like I always say, this problem, there's solution. Stress lies in the middle. Because people stay in the middle too long. It's like, get yourself to solution as quickly as possible, and then you can get back to doing the things that you enjoy.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, so tell us a bit more about your book and what you're doing, like what you're doing to help people now too.
So I have a newsletter. It's just kind of about sharing about my life and life lessons that I learned from it. I'm sharing about my book as well on my newsletter. So my newsletter is, if you sign up for my newsletter, you can actually get a free copy of my the first chapter of my book, Mindset Metamorphosis. And honestly, like, I'm still trying to figure that out, if I want to coach or if I want to. I'm actually writing another book about just having gratitude in the good and the bad times. Because I feel like gratitude is something that we know of, but we don't really practice it as much as we should. I actually do have another book. It's called the Kimchi Connection Cookbook. And if you're not familiar with what kimchi is, it's a fermented Korean food. And I basically, quick story behind that. My parents owned a restaurant. I grew up, it was like a Chinese Korean restaurant. And when I left Missouri, I was actually looking for kimchi, and I bought it at the store, and it came in plastic containers, and it just didn't taste very good. Because when you put kimchi or any type of food really into plastics, the food starts absorbing the microplastic, and you start ingesting it into your system. And so for me, I was like, I don't want to be eating kimchi out of a plastic container. So I went back home, learned from my parents how to make kimchi. I brought it back, and I started bringing it for my lunches for work. And my coworkers would ask, like, hey, like, what is that? Like, can I try some? And I was like, oh, it's just kimchi. Like, I grew up with it, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so they're like, oh, this is really good. But then it was kind of also like a question came, like, what do I do with this? Like, like, how do I use this? And I'm like, oh, just start integrating it into different dishes. And then if you don't know anything about fermented foods actually help with your gut. And there's a big gut-brain barrier, that connection that happens with your gut. If you have a healthy gut, you have a healthy brain. And so if you look at like a lot of the processed foods, there's like no nutritional value in it. And with fermented foods, it helps seal leaky guts. It helps with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And it just has better mental clarity because it's a whole food. You get the fiber, a lot of nutrients, like minerals and nutrients from that. And so, and as my coworker was eating this, and I'm telling him like, hey, like, integrate it into different dishes, he started telling other people. And then people were like, hey, can I buy a jar from you? I'm like, I'm not really selling it, but sure. And then the question always came back, what do I do with it? And so I wrote that book to help people like, hey, like make your own kimchi and integrate it with different dishes. And so you can reap the benefits of the fermented foods that you get. So that's kind of how that kind of came about. And then with my mindset book, yeah, I mean, it's really just to help transform your mind, to get those negative thoughts out. Like, you know, instead of like giving up when adversity hits, like start taking some action, whatever action it is. Let's say, you know, I give this as an example of, you know, everyone's New Year's resolution is like, hey, I want to lose 10 pounds or 20 pounds or whatever it is. But they're like, I don't know how to start, but walking 10 minutes seems very, very hard for me. I'm just not going to do that. So for me, I say like, well, start very, very small, like the smallest thing that you can start. And I said, if you want to lose 10 pounds and you want to start walking and get some sunlight to get the vitamin D, I was like, day one, just put your shoes on. That's it. That's your win for the day. Like, let's say you've been a couch potato for 10 years. You play video games all day and you have a desk job. And you're like, I'm not going to do that. So I'm like, yeah, day one, put your shoes on. That's it. Day two, put your shoes on, walk to the front door. That's 2 wins and 2, right? Day 3, walk to your mailbox. Then before you know it, day 30, you're like walking down the street. You're walking a mile or whatever. But these little habits, these little things compound into bigger things. And that could be anything. That could be starting a business. That could be, you know, motivation speaking. Like find 2 people to speak to, you know, that needs help, or like, hey, like I just want to motivate you, you know, go do something, you know, like, or let's do this together. And so yes, like starting small, but building that up into something that's bigger. Because I mean, you don't learn how to drive in a day. The world wasn't created in a day. Rome wasn't created in a day. Like we don't learn to walk in a day. So it's like, you don't get a black belt in a day. So why as humans do we expect everything to just happen all of a sudden and just be like, oh yeah, like everything just happened? It's like, no, like start small and build upon that.
Yeah, see, and to add to that, because I tell people that here too, when new people start, I'm like, your first goal for the first 30 days is to just show up.
Yeah.
I said, show up 2 to 3 days a week. Don't put any pressure on yourself. Just show up and get through the class.
Yeah.
That's it. Then after that, we'll start. Well, that, and I tell them to start up in their water intake. Like, but that's it. For the first 30 days, establish the routine. Mm-hmm. But I want to touch on something else you just said. I tell people, cut it out with the I don't have time. Right? Everybody has 24 hours. So how come some people have time and you don't? Right? That doesn't make any sense. So people say, oh, well, I was gonna come, but I was gonna be like 10 minutes late and I don't want to do that. All right, so don't ruin the other 50 because you're gonna be 10 minutes late. Just as long as you give me the heads up when you get here, do a quick warm up and then jump into the class. If like there are times where I'll go to the gym, like I have a gym membership to use some of the machines, where I'll go and I'm in and out in 15 minutes because that's all I have. I go in, I crush that 15 minutes, and then I leave. Yeah. And you know, to your point, like if you want to start a business, start with what you have. Yeah. You know, just start there. If you only have 10 spare minutes a day, in those 10 minutes, make the most out of it. Yeah. And especially now with AI, before it figures out a way to take over the world, right? Use it now in the form that it's in now. You can pump out so much content in such a short amount of time. Like I set up this week's and next week's podcast already, and I think it took me about maybe 20 minutes, you know, to set them all up, just using AI. And you know, again, to your point, like it's not going to be an overnight thing, but if you get these wins every single day, you just keep stacking the wins. Yeah. Like I tell my people, I'm like, crush today, wake up tomorrow, repeat, wake up the next day, repeat. If you just constantly crush each day, put off entertainment for a bit. Like if you're not where you want to be, right, don't sacrifice work time, sacrifice the mindless scrolling, sacrifice going to the movies every Thursday, and do the things that you need to do so you can spend the rest of your life doing what you want to do. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you know, I get that people get busy, but every single person is not using their 24 hours to the max. Like you're saying,
Yes.
there's doom scrolling, there's watching TV, Netflix, there's watching YouTube. Like, what could you be doing besides that? Like, listen to a podcast instead of listening to, your radio driving to work. Listen to a podcast while you're, driving to work, or if you're exercising, start feeding your mind. Like during those times, like if you're folding laundry, listen to a podcast or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like entertainment is a huge it's a huge part of our lives that so many people don't want to give up, because it's easy to just like go home after work, sit down on the couch, watch football, watch Netflix, whatever, and then just go to sleep and then rinse and repeat. But then it's like, well, are you doing anything productive? Are you doing anything like to feed your mind and your body during that time? Like, yeah, we all get busy, but we all get sick too. But it's those little micro things that compound that so many of us aren't willing to do, because they're like, oh, I don't see any results, and they just kind of give up. So, but yeah, to your point, it's those little things that actually are bigger in the big scheme of things.
Yeah, and that's just like making content. Like if you have a video out and say it only gets 200 views, and people are like, oh well, this is a waste of time. Yeah. It's like, no, just leave it. Just leave it, because I've had videos that I did like 6 months ago that are just now getting a couple thousand views, a few thousand views. Yeah, it's like just be patient. Be patient. It's like the art of struggle has been lost. Like I was telling my athletes the other day, I was like, when I needed to know something, I used to have to get on my bike, ride 3.5 miles to the library, use that Dewey Decimal System to try to find the book I wanted, right? Then you're walking down the aisles hoping to find the book. And then, like, you put the work in. It's like when I ran track, my coaches, one was a distance runner, one was a thrower. And I was a jumper and a sprinter. So I couldn't get direct knowledge from them. So do I just throw my hands up and say, I don't have the resources, I don't have a coach? It's between myself and my dad, we figured out the info. We figured out how to train for this thing. And I ended up holding multiple school records for a couple decades, over 20 years for both of those records. But it was because I wanted it bad enough that I was willing to put the work in. The people who don't put the work in, it's because they don't want it bad enough. So when you're working with people, and then we'll start to bring this down so we don't go too long. All right, so when you're working with people, what's one of the number one problems that they bring to you?
I think it's more as like, I can't. That's just, it's simple. It's like, I can't. And one thing my instructor, when I was growing up, he said to me, he's like, don't ever say the 4-letter C word in my dojo. And I'm like, 4-letter C word? And he's like, every time you say this word, you're going to have 40 push-ups, 10 push-ups for each letter. And I was like, what is that? And then he's like, can't. Just because you say it, that means you're probably not going to be able to do it. So whenever I said he would like do like, he's like, all right, let's do drills for like an hour or something like that. And me being young, I was like, oh, I can't do that. He's like, all right, go to the sideline, knock out 40 push-ups, then go start doing the drills. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I'm already tired at this point of doing 40 push-ups at 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm like, all right, well, I still got to do this. So I think most people, it's like, the first word is like, I can't do that. And I'm like, well, you didn't even try. So I think just try, do as best you can into it. And I think just that word is very debilitating for people. And I think they just don't know how to take action. So, yeah.
So I say what you just said all the time, almost every single day. I do it here in the gym and down at the track with the athletes as well, where people say, oh, that's too heavy. I'm like, you don't even know what we're doing.
Yeah.
like I didn't even tell you what the exercise is yet, right? Yeah. And you're already defeating yourself. Like, just last week, one of the women, she had a kettlebell, and then she went and got a lighter one. And I ran her down, and I was like, I was like, nope. I grabbed it, put it back. I'm like, finish the round with what's there. And She's like, I don't want to get hurt. I'm like, if you do it right, you're not going to get hurt. I'm like, you are more than strong enough to utilize what's there.
Yeah.
And she ended up finishing the rest of the class with that weight.
Right.
Right. And to further illustrate, just yesterday with my athletes, so I'm up here in Rhode Island. So even though it's indoor track, we practice outside because there's not a lot of indoor tracks around. So we have to brave the elements and get out there. Yeah. So I took the high jump bar and I put it at a certain height. I said, right, everybody line up. I said, take 2 steps and jump. And one of the girls was just like, I can't do that. I was like, you didn't even try. Yeah. I said, just get in front and just jump. I said, I don't care if you make it over. I said, the point of this drill is to face the fear and have the courage to try. Because as a high jumper, I said to him, I said, how are you guys going to do a personal best? I'm like, how? Anybody. I'm like, you have to do something you've never done. That's the only way you can get a personal best, right? So do something you've never done. I said, so you guys got to stand in front of this bar and have the courage to attempt. I said, because if not, once you reach a new height that's going to be a personal best, that fear is going to take over. Yeah. So instead of just accepting that race day anxiety is a thing and it's not, no, I'm going to teach you how to crush that, how to get up there, stare right at the fire and then jump right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
totally agree.
Helping people to do that. I mean, to see that, that's like one of the biggest rewards of what I do is like watching people think that they can't do stuff and then just seeing them crush it. Like, it's like you get that proud coach moment.
Yeah. Yeah. The mind is so powerful. It's like, a lot of times it's like what you think. Let's say I can't do that. Well, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like I was talking about my ultra, those guys that like, oh, this race is too hard. I'm never going to finish. Well, guess what? They didn't finish because their mind was already saying that. Then their body just like, oh, okay. Like you said it, I'm just going to follow suit with it. And same thing with like other people. It's like, oh, I can't do that. But then you motivate them to say, oh, just use that same weight, finish the round. But then they ended up finishing the entire class. And then, again, it's that you kind of implanted that seed in their mind of like, oh, I can do this. And guess what? They can. And then they do finish it. And yeah, so the mind is so powerful that what you think, it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like with my ultra, I said, I can and I will finish this race. And well, guess what? I can. And I did finish that race. And, yeah.
Totally. I have a story that pretty much sums up everything that we both have been sharing in this episode. So going back to obstacle racing, so I remember. So usually I run with my clients. I mean, I've run enough of them solo. I have nothing left to prove. It's like I just do them just for fun now. I love climbing stuff, right? Yeah. I love going back to me being a competitor. I love the challenge of climbing the mountains and carrying the things, right? I love it all. So I had this one where I was able to run solo. So I was like, all right, you know what? Let me push and see how fast I can get through this course. This was on the mountain in New Jersey. And so I'm coming down the final stretch, and I get to the rope climb. And now I'm tall. I have a long reach. I can get up the rope in like 2 pulls, maybe 3 pulls.
Wow.
You using the J hook, right? So I fly up, ring the bell. I come down, and there's a woman 2 ropes over. She kind of has her head, like she's holding the rope. She has her head down, and it sounds like she's sobbing, right? So I started to run up because I'm right by the finish line. But then coach mode kicked in, and I had to do the U-turn. I was like, what's going on? And she's like, I can't do this. And I was like, all right, do you know how to lock in? And she's like, no. She's like, I've never been taught. I was like, all right. So I showed her how to lock in using the S hook, because it's more stable.
Yeah.
And so she starts going up, and she comes back down, and she's like, I can't do this. I'm like, do you want to do this? And she's like, yes, I do. Then let's do this. All right. I said, get that word out of your brain. I said, let's do this.
Yeah.
So she locks in. So she gets about halfway, and she just like yells. And she's like, she's like, it hurts. I said, okay, you're in pain. Now get a reward for it. Keep going. You know, so she keeps going. She yells again. I'm like, you're almost there. Just fight through it. Like, you can do this. And so she keeps going. She rings the bell. So I'm guiding her back down, like hand over hand. Like once I can reach her, like just so she feels more stable coming down. Like I'm holding her feet. She gets down. She starts bawling, and she's like, "Can I hug you?" I was like, "Yes, you can." And doing that meant more than any time I could have gotten.
Yeah.
You know, just helping people in their worst moments. Like that's the best part of what I do. And for the final words, right, I want you to share what's the best part of what you do, and then what you would say to someone that struggles with the things that we've been sharing in this episode. Like if they hit that rock bottom, what words of encouragement can you give them to pull out of it?
Don't give up. For me, I've always said that there's someone else out there that has it worse than what I have it going on right now. Like you're talking about someone, you know, your worst day is someone's last breath, right? My thing was someone else out there has it worse than me. But don't give up, get back up, whether it be 7 times, 100 times, whatever it is, just keep getting back up, because then you start learning and continue to learn. Just because you made a mistake or you failed at something or whatever, so what? We're human. We all make mistakes. We all get to that rock bottom spot, but don't stay there, because if we stay there, like bad things are just going to even happen more. Because if you think like, oh, life is never going to get any better, then you start thinking about these mental health things, like, oh, start thinking about suicide, things like that. Then you just downward spiraled even further. And so just don't give up, keep persevering, and find help. Sometimes we need help like you. We need someone to pull us up, or to push us up, or to motivate us. We on earth are not meant to do this on our own. And so, find a coach, find a mentor, whatever it is, someone that, whether if you're starting a business, like, hey, like this person has done it before me, tell me or show me how you did it. If someone's done an ultra and you're trying to run a Spartan race, a 5K, talk to them. Like, hey, like, what did you do? What was your training? Can you help me in this? So there's so many avenues that we can get help from. So, and a lot of these things I talk about in my book, and how to get help, how to find that help. Go to seminars, like motivational speaking. If you need some motivation, go to a seminar who does these things. That's like a mentor. That's like a coach, right? So all these things, and just keep learning. So I mean, that was a lot, but a lot of things that I tell myself to do. I'm like, okay, I need to go do that. So
like you mentioned earlier too about listening to podcasts and stuff, because like there were times where I get mad. It happens. Remember, I was doing a certification for track and field, because like you pretty much have to have like a PhD now to coach. And so I'm going through one of the longer certifications. It's like maybe it takes like 6 hours to get through the whole thing. I was 90 minutes in, and everything auto saves nowadays. But it was on me because I didn't make sure that it saved. And so it's like, you know what? It's like, I need a break. So I closed my laptop, put my headphones on, and I went for a walk. And I come back and I open it up, and I was like, what? And I almost blew my lid. But then it's like going back to accountability. I was like, oh, it's my fault. It's like I should have made sure it was safe. So it's like, really, what am I mad at? Like, I did this. So it's like, and at the end of the day, okay, I lost 90 minutes. Whatever. Opened it up and just went back to work. Like going back to that problem solution, like I said earlier, for a split second, I was hanging in the middle. The solution is to just restart. I can't change the fact that it didn't save. So what am I mad about, really? And to your point, like, we're all human. Mistakes happen. We're going to say things that we wish we could take back. We're going to do things that we wish we've never done. It hits all of us. I have plenty of stories that I share when I speak on other people's shows, that going through divorce, losing my father, watching him take his last breath. Like there are things that everybody goes through. But like it says up above us, your true power lies in your story. So thank you for coming here and sharing yours. And I'm going to be starting up doing my panels again, right? So like we take one topic. So this one was embracing vulnerability, and we all just take turns speaking on that one topic, right? So like if you're interested in that, I'll let you know when the next one's coming up. And then, like I said, if you want to come on my other show to talk more about obstacle racing and just how you got into it, and we can talk about your ultra experience if you've done other races, and we can just talk everything like that. That one's just everything obstacle course racing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, that is it. Let me cue the. Oops. See, like they updated StreamYard, so everything's kind of moved.
Oh, I do want to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you do want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, dkkang.com, and then my newsletter is there as well. Then both my books are on Amazon. The Mindset Metamorphosis is on Amazon as a Kindle, as a paperback, and Audible. And then the Kimchi Connection Cookbook is on Amazon as well as a digital and as a paperback. So if you want to grab a copy of those books, and if you want to leave a review, I'll much appreciate it. So.
Awesome. All right. Sounds good. And that link is in the description, no matter where you guys are listening or watching this from. So again, thank you very much. And I'll be in touch. Take care.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Shut Up and Grind. We hope you've gotten some useful and practical information from this show. Robert has over 20 years experience pouring his knowledge and expertise at many events in the service and fitness industry, as well as secondary schools and universities. He has a true passion for helping others break through the barriers that are holding them back. To book Robert B. Foster to speak or to reach out, go to robertbfoster.com. Till next time, shut up and grind.